Hey guys, got another Scrawlr box. Let's see what's inside. Yeah. I see a paintbrush. Paint. Okay, I'm excited. Let's look at the print first. It's a square print again. Haven't had one of those in a little while. It looks like acrylic paint, gouache, Katie Jobling. I'm a UK artist, UK-based artist who focus on documenting life using paint and my paintbrush. Art can have a tremendous effect on our emotional well-being, and I'm really passionate about how art can uplift and inspire. I have a YouTube channel and blog where I am to give you an insight into my daily work life. I can speak, I can read. Holy fudge monkeys with oils. Are these oil paints? Oh my god, I'm excited. With oils, I always start with darker colors first. It's harder to go over white with a darker color. Interesting. Don't use too much water, just enough to loosen the paint. Remember, drying times take much longer than other paint types, 3 to 5 days. Ooh, this is exciting. I'm all excited and tingly. Okay. So that had some spoilers, but let's see what we've got. Ooh, I like this sticker, guys. Oh, painterly, and the color's different from a lot of the other stickers, so I'm gonna add it to my growing collection of stickers I never use. Woo! Okay. This is interesting. There's a lot of stuff in here. Okay. So we got a... Where does that go? Vidal. Blue, weirdly glittery sucker. We have a teeny tiny canvas, so this is going to be interesting working this small, especially with a paintbrush this big. It's a 10 SCRAWLRBOX branded paintbrush. Look at that. Derwent Graphic, 2B. I'm always getting 2Bs from Scrawlr boxes for some reason. And then we have 3 things of paint. We've got titanium white, water mixable oil color. I hope that means I can wash the brush too. We've got primary magenta and ultramarine. So apparently we're doing the 3-color challenge with oil paint. And we have this weird card. And there's words on it. There are lots of ways to apply paint to a surface without using a paintbrush. Use this card to mix your paints or use to apply them directly to the canvas. The hard flat edges are great for spreading thin layers of paint over large areas or for creating texture to your work. You can even chop it up to different shapes and sizes to create more than one tool and see what different effects you can achieve. So then they've got a bunch of lines encouraging you to make different shaped things. Interesting. Not sure if there's a specific rhyme or reason to the different shapes here. That's kind of cool. So we've got a card, a canvas, a large paintbrush, a pencil, white, magenta, and ultramarine water soluble, or at least water mixable oil paint. And I'm assuming this parchment paper is for us to use as a palette. That would be my guess. Let's see. Sometimes trying new art supplies is daunting, and mediums like oil paints are meant to be used with solvents and thinners to achieve a certain effect. That was the thing I've always known, and something I'm kind of concerned about because we don't have any solvents or thinners. We wanted to give you the chance to easily try this medium and experiment with all the benefits of painting with oil paint without any of the hassle. Okay, let's learn about this paint. Artist quality water mixable oil paint with an exceptionally high degree of pigmentation. Painting with these is the same as painting with traditional oil paint, provides a perfect oil paint result with uniform drying and times of degree of gloss. The color and brushstroke for applied texture return the full expression. It remains the same when applied even if the paint has dried. The only difference, well, no scary or harmful solvents. Use straight from the tube or dilute it. Desired consistency with a little water, plus the cleaning process is also much simpler. Okay, you only need soapy water to clean the brush. Cool. That was my biggest concern. Short handle, size 10 brush. Prime, stretch, oh, so it's prime too, that's nice. Sketching pencil, palette, knife card. I like how they crossed out knife. And okay, this is called palette paper. Is a vegetable parchment, impervious to oil and acrylic. Cool. I actually really like the idea of disposable paint palettes. And our challenge. Abstract. Floral. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to be the first one to admit that I am actually terrified of oil paints. I've only used them 2 times before this. One time I was sitting down with my best friend who actually does some amazing, beautiful, crazy things with oil paint. Shameless plug here to Cindy/Dracantiar on most social medias. Look at the beautiful artwork. She's amazing and does really cool things. Look at this. This is oil paint. How did she do this? I do not know. And the other time I was playing with some art supplies in one of the schools I had previously worked at. The thing about oil paints... God, there's some really loud birds outside today. The thing about oil paints is they're oil-based, obviously. They're called oil paints. So to break them down and thin them, you actually need to use, like, usually some pretty intense chemicals. I mean, people use turpentine and other deadly, fumy monster chemicals with oil paints to thin them down and get consistency and clean brushes and all this other stuff, so it's hazardous to work with. Not to mention some of the classic oil paints like cadmium yellow, I think, used actual cadmium, which is highly poisonous and caused a lot of death. There was also a type of white, I think it was called lead white, lead-based, very heavily. And even today, there's a lot of people who use it because even the synthetic versions of lead white don't get the apparently warmth, crispness that the original paint got back in the olden days. But also back in the olden days, people got a lot of lead poisoning from painting with lead white, and there's a lot of health problems that came with becoming an artist way back when because of the dangerousness, the hazardousness of some of the materials you were using, especially because of the terrible habit that most artists have, sticking their paintbrushes in their mouth or accidentally drinking their paint water, which when talking about oils would be laced with turpentine. Because that's how horrible oil paints are. Woo! Most artists that you talk about when you're talking about art history: Van Gogh, Duncanson, Monet. You guys probably don't know who Duncanson is. I need to do an art history thingy one of these days. Anyway, all these classic romantists and postmoderns and moderns and almost all of the, quote, big famous artists use oil paint. To the point where in a lot of major parts of society it's been given this idea of this quality. Oh my god, it's an oil painting. That's so much higher quality. But it is. I mean, it's more expensive. The materials take a lot of practice to get down, and they take freaking forever to dry. Think about vegetable oil and it spills on your kitchen counter. It doesn't dry. It just sits there sticky and goopy and messy and slick. And that's the kind of stuff that binds oil paint pigments together, so it can take weeks or longer for an oil painting to dry all the way. So you don't do as much as like layering like you would with acrylic, where you just pop down some color and then let it dry and then pop some more color on top of it. It is kind of a viscous working surface, so you're constantly pushing and pulling color, and when you're working with it, the color on top is picking up a little bit of the color on bottom. And yes, there's a lot of people who do work on layering and do base coats and stuff over time, but it takes weeks and weeks and weeks to complete something at that rate because of the amount of time you're having to wait for things to dry. So oil paint has this like innate quality identifier to it for just being the medium it is. But a lot of people also like that because that means you're able to push and pull things and really change your mind and edit and blend, and there's a smoothness that you can get from it that was really unparalleled, especially whenever it was in its like major heyday of paint. That's what had me so curious about these paints, because they're water mixable. It doesn't say water soluble, so they don't really melt in the water, but they do definitely break down, and that was one thing that I had a lot of fun with these, because you can water them down a lot, but they still have that oil smoothness of being able to blend together. It's really hard to describe if you've not worked with other paints before this and then you've never tried this yourself, because with acrylic, I mean, you're just mixing paint. It feels, you know, more like elementary school when you're mixing paint. Tempera paint, gouache, the more chalky paints, those mixed together with a really different feeling. Oil, they just squish into each other in an amazing, terrifying, beautiful way. Especially these, because one thing I noticed, since they're water mixable, when you went to clean your brush and then you went to mix some more paint, your brush still has that water in it, so it would water down even more. So a lot of the paint in the mixing was a lot thinner than I kind of wanted, but I went with it, and it was an exploration. It was kind of fun, and it was weird. I don't know how your Contier/Cindy/ my best friend does it, because this is her main medium. Another thing that's really cool, though, going back on track, with this paint is, because it's oil, once it dries, you get this really nice, shiny look to it. It's been a couple days, and I'm looking at this project done, and there's just something appealing about it. It smells kind of like makeup. That's oil paint, I'm sure, but it's just something nice and shiny, and the colors and vividy's the word. I like vivity. The layering was something that I am not used to. The closest thing to oils I've ever worked with is my water-soluble gouache, because you do pick up layers when you're working with the gouache, because that's how it works. Whereas this picks up in a very different way. I mean, it grabs the color and they like smoosh together. I mean, I can't come with a better descriptor than smoosh. I kind of task you to look over at the color palette while I make the colors, and you can really see how things blend together in the little bits of color. And like, I'll put down something darker and slowly move it around, and it'll lighten with the other colors that are already on the palette. And it's cool and mesmerizing to watch, even for me. In the tips, that I was told to do the darker colors first and then go in with the lights, and that definitely makes sense because the magenta and the blue had a little bit of a translucency to them, whereas the white is incredibly opaque. So whenever you were to mix the darker colors on top of the white, they would pick up the opaqueness from the white and the softness, so it was hard to put dark again on top of light. When it came to doing florals have always been really difficult for me to paint because there are some shapes that are incredibly organic but also inorganic, because when I think organic I think of animal-like, and flowers are not animal-like at all. And the layering of petals and things is something that I've never really been able to figure out very well. My mom was at a time actually a florist and still has those skills, but I grew up with my house full of flowers, and now as an adult I kind of wish I had taken that time to draw those flowers. Guess who else has flowers all over their house their entire, child life? But, missed opportunities. I mean, I do know what flowers look like, and I do know a decent bit about flowers and all of that. That water pot looks really pretty. That's a really pretty purple color in my water there. All in all, I'm really proud of this. I mean, it's not crazy super detailed or anything, but I think it's pretty. I like the limited color palette. I want to pick up some more canvases and keep giving this medium a try. Thank you guys for joining me today. I hope you liked this video, found it vaguely interesting. Are there any mediums you've tried that freaked you the heck out? Or if you've got any good friends that you want to shamelessly shout out, post their information in the comment section and I'll totally check them out, because if we don't love our friends, who will? Okay, guys. Bye.